Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a pure 12 build for the Evocation Wizard in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a very powerful class for the Wizard because you can sculpt your spells to not hit your teammates, which is huge because this lets you do danger close with fireballs, but you can also then add your intelligence modifier to evocation spells, which are some of the best in the game. Now for the cantrips we'll be selecting for this build, I like to have Fireball just for the damage. You can kite enemies with Ray of Frost, however there's actually an early game item that I would recommend grabbing where we can actually get Ray of Frost from it. So Bone Chill is a good choice too because it stops targets from receiving healing, and against a couple boss fights this is extremely valuable. I also like to have Mage Hand because in Baldur's Gate 3 it's a free action to drop health potions and water bottles, which your hand can then throw to heal you or set up double damage for cold and lightning spells. We also want to have Mage Armor prepared as it'll increase armor class by 3. You can find scrolls of this, which is quite nice as well. And I also like to have the Shield spell to increase armor class by 5 as a reaction. This can protect us really well early on in the game. Now it's also good to have Magic Missile so you can hit targets and have guaranteed damage. Thunderwave is nice for the pushback that it brings, and it does a good amount of damage as well. Grease is super effective early on because it can make enemies slip and fall prone, which is really nice, and it doesn't even require concentration. We also have Sleep here, which is good because you can put 3 goblins to sleep using this, although it's not really the best spell, and I'd actually probably prefer to have Tasha's Hideous Laughter or Longstrider. If you don't have someone on your party that has this, be the one to take it. It's a really good spell to prepare on everybody. Now for our ability scores, now this is a tough one because intelligence is a main stat for us. What we can do is if you got the Hag's Hair, you can use it to increase your intelligence to 18. That'd be the most optimal way to do that, but I'm not going to count for that for those that don't. I think the stack spread of 16 intelligence, 16 constitution, and 14 dexterity works best. You can put points into dexterity for higher initiative and armor class, but the wizard needs a bit of extra health. Upon hitting level 2, we get our subclass, and the big thing being sculpt spells. This basically just makes it so that your teammates will succeed the saving throws so they don't take damage from any of our spells. So you can cast Fireball, Lightning Bolt, you don't gotta worry. It's a really useful one, especially for new time players, but even veterans alone can get a lot of benefit out of it. Now another spell that's great is Find Familiar. The Raven early game can blind enemies, which is good for your marshals. I also like to have Chromatic Orb for a bit of coverage, and False Life is an okay spell to give temporary health if you don't already have it from another source. And the prepared spells we'll have is as such. You can put in Longstriders you need it, or the Find Familiar as well. And once we get to level 3 here, this is when we get a level 2 choice in spells, which is really going to enhance this because we get 2 great options here with Hold Person, letting us get critical hits from 3 meters in closer, and Scorching Ray, which can crit and does actually quite a bit of damage here. Scorching Ray is a good damage option. We're going to be using that for a majority of the game just because it's one of the better options out there for damage. I'd actually recommend preparing the spells as such here. Even Thunderwave can be used instead of Grease if you prefer. Now once we get another cantrip, Friends is okay if you're the face of the party. I should mention that as well. And Minor Illusion actually works really well in this build because you can use it, it'll group enemies together. You can drop a fireball on them. Toll the Dead's another decent cantrip, but we want mostly evocation spells, so things like the Ray of Frost being that is nice, and even Shocking Grasp. Shocking Grasp is good to get away from targets who actually might take that, as it also has advantage on metal targets. For the level 2 spells that we'll be taking at next level here, Misty Step is fantastic because this gives us a bonus action teleport. Mirror Image will increase our armor class by 9, which is also extremely valuable. And we also have things like Knock and Invisibility, which are great utility. Knock is huge because you don't even need anyone on your team that can open locks once you get this, and it can actually help you bypass the Shard Temple, which is really nice. I personally like to go with Mirror Image and Misty Step. Another one that I will quickly mention is Clouded Daggers, because the damage is guaranteed, so this can be pretty useful too. And for the prepared spells, we'll throw on Thunderwave, or actually we'll take off Grease and put Misty Step on. And then for our feat that we taken at level 4 here, Alert for the +5 to initiative is extremely valuable, but an ability score improvement on our intelligence works great too. I just think that getting a +5 to initiative early on is a game changer since this game has a D4 initiative die. We're likely going first now once we take that. Level 5 gives us one of the best spells in the game with Counterspell. It's a boring spell, yes, but this is extremely valuable and you always want to have it prepared. I also like to have Fireball or Lightning Bolt. With Lightning Bolt getting the edge, you can sometimes hit more enemies with a Lightning Bolt. It's better for positioning, and lightning damage can be doubled with water bottles. If you have your mage hand throw them, or if you have anyone in your team, your cleric cast Create Water, it doubles the damage. Fireball is nice too, though. We'll take that at next level, and then we'll prepare. As I mentioned, you always want to have Counterspell prepared because you can stop a spell from being cast. It's just so good. But once we hit level 6, we now get potent cantrips, so our cantrips are harder to evade entirely. So whenever our target succeeds on the saving throw against one of our cantrips, they'll still take half the cantrip's damage. Now the biggest screw you this does is it only works on spells that are cantrips that have a saving throw. We don't have any, unfortunately, and it's not worth taking them because those cantrips aren't great. But it does work on Acid Splash, Bursting Sinew, Poison Spray, Psychic Rend if you're able to get that, and Sacred Flame, which is a cleric spell. Toll the Dead works, which is an option, and Vicious Mockery. And yeah, we don't got those spells, so this doesn't really work. It doesn't hit Firebolts, and it doesn't hit our Ray of Frost, so it's okay. Not really a game changer. But we'll then take Fireball at this level here. Glyph of Warden can be like a Fireball, but with a shorter radius, and you can choose the damage type. It's kind of a fun spell. Haste is one of the best spells in the game, although I prefer a Sorcerer because they can twin it to one other person at the same time for the concentration. Slow is another spell that's kind of underrated. Same thing with Fear. You can make enemies drop their weapons and become fearful, which is kind of nice. I'm just going to grab the Haste spell because it is one of the best spells in the game. And then we'll prepare Fireball just so that we have something we can guarantee if there's enemies in a circle area. Level 7 gives us another fantastic choice in spell, with Ice Storm being fantastic for the crowd control, and then Conjure Minor Elementals. These give you 2 ice methods that can control a battlefield. I don't really love them. It's a major elemental that's much better, so we're just going to skip that and not prepare it unless you really wanted it. We can prepare it after level 8 because we'll get our intelligence modifier increased here, but this also lets us take things like Confusion, which is actually a pretty decent spell, and Greater Invisibility. I don't always use it. I won't probably prepare for this one, but it's not as bad as some people make it out to be. It's a weird one. They basically have a 50-50 chance of either skipping their turn or attacking a random creature, and it sometimes can still be you, but it's just great if it's a large area of effect. That's what makes it so useful. Greater Invisibility is another nice one. It's more so utility, and if you have a ranger with Pass Without Trace, you can basically make them invisible and they'll keep succeeding on the stealth checks because it increases by 1 every time that you succeed. And once we get to level 8 feat, we will take the intelligence increase. This is going to be good because we'll later add it to our evocation spells. It's going to allow us to prepare another spell, and it's just a good option for making sure that we land our spells too. Once we hit level 9, this is when we get 2 of the best spells in the game with Create Elemental, or Conjure Elemental. The Water Elemental, not the Water Myrmidon. It got nerfed on patch 8, but the Water Elemental's main punch gives enemies chilled. It has a chance to. And then Cone of Cold will then do double damage. So if you have your elemental attack first and then apply chilled on the target, and then you have Cone of Cold, it can do 128 damage max. Kind of crazy. And also it's an evocation spell, so it's going to get buffed up here in a moment, which is amazing. We'll then prepare these 2 spells here because these are synergetic together. We want to have them. And then once we get to level 10, this is when we get our empowered evocation. So our grasp evocation magic is tightened. You can add your intelligence modifier to damage rolls with any evocation spell. Yippee! That makes our spells a lot more powerful. We can then take a cantrip here. I guess we'll take Toll of the Dead as the only cantrip that can add our to make the target take half damage. It's okay, I guess. We'll then take Hold Monster, which is actually a very good spell. Dominate Person can be fun, but we can even go back and take Wall of Fire for a bit of crowd control. And we'll prepare Hold Monster as it's good into Act 3. Now level 11, this is when we get some of the strongest damage spells with Chain Lightning, and my favorite, Odaluk's Freezing Sphere, which is an evocation spell. Large area of effect and it creates a nice surface. Chain Lightning is a great damage spell, everyone knows that, but I like Odaluk's because it's not one you can normally get, because it's only available to the wizard. One thing I do want to mention, I have a video on it, but if you get a bunch of scrolls of Odaluk's Freezing Sphere, you can create the portable spheres and put them on one of your teammates, have them go invisible and run up to someone like Gortash, and they'll explode like an icy nuke and take them out. It's actually kind of crazy. You can one-shot Gortash using this. And I would recommend grabbing one of these to prepare. You only likely want to have one prepared. I like Odaluk's Freezing Sphere, but actually you can prepare a couple of them. We'll also take Globe of Invulnerability here. And you can go with Wall Eyes as it's another wizard exclusive spell, and I think it's a fun one. They actually fixed it in patch 8 to now do proper damage when it breaks, so that's nice. And we'll prepare Globe of Invulnerability. I think this is the best spread of spells that we can roll with, and we'll also then add in an ability score improvement to take our intelligence all the way up to 20. Another one is if you don't have the Constitution Amulet, you can take the Warcaster to hold it. You can get advantage on your saving throws to hold concentrations. Elemental Adept on Fire is another okay choice if you really want to go all in on a damage type, but I think that this works best. And this is Argentina's Gifts outfit from the Radiant Threads by Aerodea on Nexus Mods. Now, as far as gear goes, one of the best early game options is the Protectee Sparks Wall. There's not very many good clothing options in Act 1, let's just be honest with us, This one's good though, because it gives a +1 to spell save DC, and it'll also give a +1 bonus to armor class. When we have lightning charges, you can get these spell sparkler and many other options for lightning charges in the early game. There's some other great options as we get later on in the game, like the robe with supreme defenses, the potent robe, which is not really that great for that build, but it's clothing with a +1 AC early game. It can work. And then there's also later on in the game the vest of soul rejuvenation, which doesn't really fit this build, but it's an option if you don't have anyone else. There's also the cat's grace, which you can get in the early game, which will give you additional armor or additional dexterity, which translates to armor class. But once we get to the late game, the best choice is the robe with the weave, or going with the Helldusk armor from Raphael once we get to the very late game. This gives a +1 to spell save DC and spell attack rolls, and gives you health back and a +2 to AC. We do need to use our magic armor here, but if you got yourselves a scroll of magic armor, you don't need to even prepare it. So stock up on them, it'll save you. It's just nice to get that extra boost to the armor class without using your spells, which we do have the recovery here, so it's not a big deal, but it's nice in a pinch just not have it prepared. Also, for our helmets, the best choice is the Hat of Fire Cutie. Now, what's crazy about this is we can do Scorching Ray and get a +10 to our spell save DC, and we will not miss our spells. You can also do the same with the Hat of Storm Scion's Power, although you do have to do a lot more spells, and you have to use Thunder spells. There's also the Warped Headband of Intellect if you wanted to change your stats around early game. The Pointy Hat actually is this works on this build because it gives bonuses to Persuasion checks equal to your Intelligence modifier. The Hat of the Sharp Caster is also kind of nice because it'll reroll your spell attacks, but honestly, nothing beats the Hat of Fire Cutie. It's just insanely good. Now, what's funny is the Thunder Skin Cloak actually works here because wizards typically get attacked more. So when a creature with reverberation deals damage to the wearer, they do a con save or become dazed. We're going to be applying reverberation with the Boots of Stormy Clamor. You can have someone else in your team with the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies to apply it even further. And since I got cold damage on this build, I also like to use the Winter's Clutches here, which whenever we deal cold damage, we apply 2 turns of Encrusted with Frost on the enemy, which is a condition that'll proc our Boots of Stormy Clamor. Now, there's a lot of other gloves out there that can benefit. As mentioned, the Gloves of Belligerent Skies is a great early game one. We can go with the Luminous Gloves. It's kind of funny. If we have a ring here that adds additional radiant damage, we can actually apply Radiating Orbs too. We got a lot of good builds, but I think this one works well for the synergy that we got. Now, for the rings, I will mention the Coruscation Ring. Whenever we deal spell damage, we're illuminated, we do 2 turns Radiating Orbs. This means the enemy has a -2 to their attack rolls, and this will stack up to a -10. And we also got the Callous Glow Ring to add additional 2 points of radiant damage, which is great because then you can use Gloves of Belligerent Skies or Luminous Gloves. I also have the Amulet of Greater Health just for better constitution because the wizard really needs it, otherwise they go down often. Now, a cool trick that we can do is, actually there's 2. The Hellrider Longbow we're not using for combat, +3 to our initiative. We'll always go first. And then the Staff of Spell Power comes with a free cast here, Arcane Battery, which we can use to give ourselves the Conjure Elemental. And as mentioned, don't do the upcasted version. We just want the Water Elemental. It's a lot better in the Water Myrmidon. The Water Myrmidon used to be able to create a huge water air effect. Now it can't. So we're going to use this to set up a cold with its punches, because its main attack here, Slam, will potentially make the target chilled. And it also creates a water surf. It's kind of cool. We're then going to swap this out for Marika Heshker, which also has the Arcane Battery, but it also comes with Kreska's Favor, which gives us a free Chain Lightning. This is really good, but there's also the Frost of the Dark Winter, which will also give us some cool benefits, and it can apply Encrusted with Frost. This will give us Lightning Charges, though, which is kind of nice for a little bit of extra damage, and it gives us the Chain Lightning, one of the best spells in the game. Want to mention, though, if you're a Sorcerer, they can twin this to 2 targets. It's even crazier. Now, you can, if you know you're getting into a fight, cast Mirror Image for a +9 armor class for 10 turns. It does go down every time you get attacked, but it's a good way to start off. Now, if our Water Elemental is going first, it can apply Chilled on a target, which will just set us up. But we want to do some form of crowd control, and we got Ice Storm for that. We got Wall of Fire. You could have Clouded Daggers, and we got late game the Odaluk's Freezing Sphere. And this is the best option because it has a huge area of effect that you can just drop down and create a surface with. This is what's best about it. And you can actually do this in a large area just like this here. And our Water Elemental is immune to the damage and it doesn't go prone, so we can just drop that there. And we apply the Encrusted with Frost and Radiating Orbs on multiple targets. That's pretty effective for our first turn. We also have Scorching Ray, which if we're having a hard time landing our spells, the Hat of Fire Cutie can allow that to stack up and do some pretty crazy stuff. I'm going to just delete this target here. I'm short on time, so I need to clear these out as quick as possible. The Lightning Charge and everything from Chain Lightning is great. We then applied some Radiating Orbs and Reverberation on multiple targets there. If you got a Lithid ability, something like Mind Blast would just easily wipe these 2 targets out. I'm just going to do it just to get them out. They're going to go down either way because, yeah, it's a bonus action with crazy damage. And it'll also stack your Lightning Charges and your Radiant damage. And the beautiful thing about our Water Elemental is that it does not slip on ice. So you can walk it over to wherever you need to. And it's got its punch attack here, so the slam will chill targets. So you can see there we did apply the chilled, which is fantastic because then they're vulnerable to cold damage and resistant to fire. So we're going to be using things like our Cone of Cold or Luke's Freezing Sphere or Ice Storm. And the thing is, not a lot of people seemingly know this, but you can warp with your elemental, so they can get backline and just get into some pretty annoying positions. And on our second turn of combat, typically in Baldur's Gate, you want to go all out. So we got the free cast. We can drop another ice ball here, which is kind of crazy because, yeah, I don't want to walk on the ice because I have risk to end up slipping and falling, so I can't actually position myself far enough back there to actually hit this. This is one more where I wish I had Chain Lightning prepared because that would have been a nice spell to be able to do, but I guess I'll just try and, yeah, we'll just drop it there. We'll risk that, yeah, we went prone, of course. There's the Hoarfrost boots, there's Nair's boots, there's a lot of ways to prevent that from happening. Oh, we got a critical hit, broke the concentration, and applied chill. That was actually a pretty successful icy turn. And the Water Elemental provides some good tankiness because the enemies will sometimes just focus on it due to its lower armor class value. Now, the great thing is we are not going to slip and fall twice in a row. That never happens. I can cast it from right here and hit the targets that I want to hit and hopefully take them out like that because we applied shield on that one. Create a large icy surface if we didn't get them there. Actually, there's 2 targets left here and brought more targets in. We can actually Misty Step to a proper position if we need to and then go with like a... of course went prone. I thought there was no prone there. No ice there. If you melt it over, it says water there. I thought I was safe, but nope. An ideal place to be ensnared. We're just going to blast away with a cold spell there and it's able to take out 2 more of them. And then since I didn't do any fire spells, you can blast away with your Scorching Ray to get your plus 10 to your spell save DC, which is actually kind of nuts whenever you go to look at your spell save DC and it's 29. Pretty crazy. We're not missing any spells with that. So, wow, our Elemental almost got the opportunity attack to end combat there. But yeah, one of the beautiful things, unfortunately when we take damage, we lose our Arcane Acuity stacks, but they're pretty strong. I'm not going to let it get the final blow here. We're going to get that there. So we took 1 hit. We lost a bit of our Arcane Acuity, but what's great is, yeah, 95% hit chance. We ain't missing those shots. That's the beautiful thing about having Arcane Acuity high. They got to roll a nat 1 to be able to resist a lot of the critical, or a lot of the attacks. And we've rolled a 50. Crazy. Infinite crits. This is a powerful build for the Evocation Wizard. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below. Have you ever seen water on fire before? I haven't. Have a great day. We'll catch you next time.